I think I can speak to the intent of some law enforcement, quite frankly. For the last 3 years, I've been traveling the state of Michigan and conducting what I call raid response. So, you know, one of the last families I sat with in their living room, the gentleman was a Michigan State prison official. His wife had this horrible disease where she got clots in her legs, and they had to cut them out, so he became her caregiver. And then one day, a Black Hawk helicopter landed in their yard, and the guys with guns and masks get out and demand to see his growth without a warrant. And so those folks are pretty upset because they didn't know that this sort of thing occurred in America, and I realize that perhaps you don't know as well. I haven't been doing my job to educate you about how drug prohibition, the failed drug war, destroys families. I'd like to bring some folks. Did you say you're in Ottawa County, sir? I'd love to bring some folks to see you so that you can hear directly from them what the militarized drug task forces are doing. Not so much local law enforcement, but drug task forces, and certainly the DEA, are doing to state-sanctioned medical marijuana patients and caregivers in Michigan, and have from the very beginning. I'm going to just echo the things that other folks have said today about the urgent need to protect the caregiver system. I'm not sure why we're discussing large-scale grows. I understand this is all contingent upon the federal government changing their Schedule 1 status of marijuana down to Schedule 2 or lower. But if you're a caregiver in Michigan and you grow just the amount that you're allowed to, it's highly likely that you will get a visit from a drug task force, which is different from our local law enforcement. I've seen 3 kinds of law enforcement encounters in Michigan. One is very strategized efforts to undermine the protections provided in the act, primarily coming out of Oakland County. It's interesting to see, we have a letter from Sheriff Bouchard. And then you've got like sort of cowboy antics out in the rural areas where they're like, this is my town, boy, you ain't gonna be growing that stuff here. And then we have law enforcement folks that genuinely understand the act and respect the act and see that when people have cards, they leave them alone. But my understanding of this bill is that these are large-scale grows manufactured by a Canadian company, and I just learned about the one strain that they're going to be growing as well. But in Michigan, if you generate a large-scale grow, you're going to have a law enforcement encounter, and it's ugly. It takes years. It destroys families. It's one of the ways that we destroy families here. So I would like to know why no patients or caregivers were invited to the work group. I understand that it's a huge amount of work. You guys have been working on this for a long time, but our voices were not included in this bill. So that's really disheartening. We are fighters. We have had to fight every inch of the way to get this bill passed, our medical marijuana bill passed. We're still fighting for our lives in many ways regarding not only law enforcement encounters, but the Court of Appeals, as you know, they just outlawed the medicine that heals children who have 300 seizures a week with the concentrates ruling that they put out. But I'm not going to take up much more time. I would love to come and see you, sir, and I would love to bring drug raid victims to you so that you can see that there are plenty of law enforcement folks who do not care about the Medical Marijuana Act, and they go and get those people regardless. It's primarily for the use of the asset forfeiture. I've got all the statistics, and I've got arrest rates per incident for Michigan. It's a great place to live if you're a rapist here in Michigan, because we arrest about 16% of reported rapes. That doesn't change county to county or year to year. And 35 to about 70% of murders end in a arrest, but drugs are at least 85% and higher for arrests, and that's primarily because police can take your stuff. And it's, you know, you guys passed an asset forfeiture change about a year or two ago, which allowed for other law enforcement folks to share in the money they bring in from asset forfeiture, not just the drug task forces, and that was opposed by Mr. Bouchard. And before I end, I do want to let you guys know that we, like I said, we're fighters. We really are. Like, we defy police in order to get marijuana to sick people. And we see you. We see what's happening. We know that Canadian money has pushed this through so quickly, and that we weren't invited to the table. And there's still time to be really honorable and include us. And not, I'm opposing this bill all across the board, because we need jobs, just like everyone else said. We need jobs, We need to grow our own medicine. We know what we're doing with regard to medical marijuana. If other folks want to have it tested, that's great. But there are plenty of people who, I grow echinacea at home, and I harvest the root, and I make tea, and I feed it to my kids. And it keeps them healthy during the winter, and this is plant medicine the same. Thank you. Are there any
How
questions?
can I find out more about Michigan Moms United?
I can come and see you directly and bring more victims to you if you like. You can Google my name or Michigan Moms United. I don't have a website right now, I'm working on it. We do have a Facebook page where I post a lot of information. We also work on harm reduction, you know, like syringe exchange, which lowers HIV/AIDS rate and saves lives. We believe that everyone is worth saving with regard to addiction. I'm not a medical marijuana advocacy organization or a pro-marijuana group. We really are, we educate people about the failed drug war, and we try to reduce harm as much as possible.
Okay, that's what your focus is on the failed drug war.
Correct.
And is this a group of, I'm guessing, moms?
Yeah, well, it's a group of moms. We're developing a speakers bureau. Anyone can speak for Moms United, but I represent hundreds of Michigan families who have been eviscerated by law enforcement's absolute refusal to acknowledge and adhere to the Medical Marijuana Act. We just worked on the Free Bree Green case, the 6-month-old baby right here in Ingham County who was taken from her medical marijuana parents and was just returned. And I'd like to also remind you that right now Dennis Forsberg and 6 other defendants, Dennis Forsberg, as you probably know, is the largest landholder in Ingham County, widely respected gentleman, longtime resident of Ingham County. And he's sitting in the federal penitentiary right now for cultivating medical marijuana exactly as his prosecutor and township police chief told him he could. And the DE came in and spent years just, like I said, eviscerating this family. So I'm not sure why Canadian corporate money thinks they can buy our legislators and come in and do these large grows. It is a real slap in the face to all of us that have been working so hard.
Just to be fair, it's a
Yeah.
little slap in the face that you're saying that other companies come in and buy us.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Which legislators are you talking about?
Well, as you see, there's lots of folks here. You can multiply us by 10,000 easily, the people who couldn't come here today, and that's the general, and I don't mean to offend you, sir, but that's the general consensus in the field, which is, this was introduced 5 days ago. We've been working on a provisioning center bill to correct the outlawing of our dispensaries. For years and years, it's taken a long time to get legislation that assists caregivers and patients and protects Michigan families moved. And this appears to be moving very, very quickly. And by appearances only, it would seem that if you've got money, then it's a lot easier to have access to legislators. I'm sure you haven't heard that, only from me, sir. So and if I don't mean to offend you, but
I'm just trying to figure out how to get out. I mean, you don't have a website. Is this a 501c3, C4?
We'll be registering as a 501c4 because we actually
know how to get a hold of you if you don't have public information? And you're criticizing us about that, and I don't think it's a fair criticism. So answer that question.
I can leave you my phone number, I can leave you my email, you can go to
3 years ago would have been better and a little more effective.
Well, 3 years ago I had...
This is an important issue to you, and there's tens of thousands of people. I've been available for 3 years. You haven't knocked on my door.
I will.
Okay.
And 3 years ago, I hadn't been able to gather this data and compile it this way because I was still conducting the research like you have been with the Canadian folks in this bill. We've been, gathering the data, and that's how I came to these conclusions. Like, we have a widespread problem.
I understand. I just want you to know your criticism was that we didn't include you. That Senator Khan's work group didn't include you.
The patients and caregivers.
You don't know who you are.
But you don't have to include me. You just have to invite any patient or caregiver to be included in the work group.
And I'm sure that it just seems like some folks are coming in here with a predetermined idea, and I don't think it's fair.
Well, fairness is relative, as you know, and I hope, I'm not trying to offend you, but I think I'm doing you a favor because I'm saying this is what people really think. And so that's a good time to start with the truth and work from there, in my opinion. And if you're saying that that's not true, if you're saying that, no, you guys haven't been bought and paid for by outside foreign money, then I apologize. then I guess I'd like to know how this bill is moving so quickly, so very
This
quickly.
bill was introduced when?
5 days ago.
Thursday? Yeah.
When was
Visiting center bill was
4972?
introduced in February.
Sorry.
And when was 40?
February.
Yeah. I mean, medical marijuana patients and caregivers in Michigan really need your help, and I can't be everywhere. I can't knock on your door. I certainly talk to my legislators, and I take victims to their legislators. But we need your help, we do. And thank you for your time. Do you have any more questions for me?
I do.